Hi, my name is Patrick Reagan. During the Windows 11 settings, we introduced the settings in Windows 11 with coverage of the most popular system settings. During this video, we continue our advanced system settings and cover system settings found in the control panel. As always, stick around for the practice questions at the end to test your knowledge and help you prepare for the A+ exam. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to click the like button, and if you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel for more tech training content and technical know-how. Some system settings were already covered in the Windows 10 settings and the Windows 11 settings videos, where Windows settings system was covered that included managing displays, sound, notifications, storage, clipboard, Windows activation, and the About page. The Control Panel System Properties applet allows you to configure operating system settings, including hardware settings, connectivity, user profiles, security settings, and the computer name. Microsoft has been slowly phasing out the Control Panel applets by moving the settings over to the Windows settings. Today, in Windows 10 and 11, if you open the Control Panel and double-click the System applet, you open Windows Settings, System, About page. To open the Legacy System Properties dialog box, click Advanced System Settings from the About page. The Computer Name tab allows you to change the computer name and to add or remove the computer from a domain. The Hardware tab allows you to open the Device Manager. To open Device Installation Settings, which specifies if you want to automatically download manufacturer's apps and custom icons available for your devices. The Advanced tab allows you to configure Windows performance settings, modify user profiles, modify startup and recovery settings, and modify environment variables. Today, computers are more powerful than ever. However, when Windows Vista was introduced with the Arrow Glass theme, the look and feel of the Windows that we know today takes processing power. If the computer isn't powerful enough, these effects can adversely affect performance. If your computer is struggling, you can cut down these effects to free up processing power for other things. Today, gamers, system administrators, and owners of older or unpowered PCs may use these settings to eke out extra performance. Processor scheduling allows you to choose how to allocate processor resources. If you want to have a computer that runs quietly in a corner, perform certain tasks without much user interaction, you would select background services to increase performance for those services. Since most people are actively running programs, you would keep the programs option so that the more process shifted toward those running programs. Leaving this to default program settings is best for 99% of general users and gamers. However, digital audio workstation users may flip this settings to background settings to prevent audio dropouts when dealing with real-time audio processing. Virtual memory options allow you to configure the paging file used by Windows. Virtual memory is memory that pretends to be RAM by mapping disk space to RAM, which allows you to load more programs and data. Most people will use automatically managed paging file size for all hard drives. You can increase performance by moving the paging file to separate fast physical drives that is different than your system drive. It is best to use SSD drives. You can increase performance by having multiple paging files on separate multiple fast physical drives so that the drives combined can increase reading and writing performance. You can increase performance by specifying the initial size of the drive is the same as the maximum size so that the paging file does not have to grow when more memory is needed. Note, you do not get increased performance if you place multiple paging files on the same physical drive via multiple partitions or volumes. Data Execution Prevention, or DEP, is a built-in security feature that helps to prevent the execution of malicious code in your system, which might be used by hackers and viruses. By default, DEP is enabled in Windows 10 and 11, and you can manually disable it completely or disable it only for certain programs. DEP protects the data-only memory pages by making them as non-executable, which means that the page can store data but not run any code. If a malicious app tries to run code from a protected data-only memory, DEP will stop and kill the app. It is highly recommended to have DEP enabled. If you need to disable DEP because of legacy applications that you need to run, you can then turn on DEP and use an exception for that program. You should consider replacing or upgrading the legacy software. A Windows user profile is a collection of folders, files, registry, and configuration settings that define the environment for a user who logs on with a user account. When a user logs on to a computer the first time, a user profile is created, which is stored in the C:\users / the name of the user folder. If you need to delete a profile to free disk space, you would open the user's profile dialog box, click the profile you want to delete, and click Delete. You should not delete the username folder manually using File Explorer without deleting the registry settings located in the HKLM, Software, Microsoft Windows, NT Current Version profile list, and then the user's GUID. If the registry settings are still there, their profile will be corrupt if the user logs in the future. The System Startup options allows you to configure the boot menu, which is useful if you have multiple operating systems loaded on a system and you want to display menus so that you can choose which operating system you want to load. If you want more information on dual booting a system, go to the site shown on the screen. Since Windows can run Hyper-V, which allows you to run virtual machines with other copies of Windows and other operating systems running, dual boot is not as popular as it once was. The System Failure options allows you to configure the logging when a system failure occurs, such as the blue screen of death. A memory dump records the contents of system memory when your computer stops unexpectedly. The dump file can be used by Microsoft support to analyze persistent problems on your computer. A complete memory dump may contain data from processes that were running when the memory dump was collected. If you select the complete memory dump option, you must have a paging file on the boot volume that is sufficient to hold all the physical RAM plus 1 megabyte of memory. A kernel memory dump records only the kernel memory. By default, the memory dump is stored in the system root memory DMP, which is the C:\Windows folder. If you want to read the mini dump in Windows, you can search for and download the WinDBG tool from Microsoft. For more information about reading the dump files, go to the link shown on the screen. Environment variables are named values that are kept in the Windows system while it is running, like a location of a folder on your computer, a version number, a list of objects, and so forth. Each variable has a name and a value that you and your system can access that can affect the way running processes will behave on a computer. Environment variables are part of the environment in which a process runs. For example, it will list where to store temp files, the path statement, which specifies the folders in which you can execute an executable file from any command prompt on the system, and the location of the Windows folder. To get a list of all environment variables, execute the set command at a command prompt. To access an environment variable, the environment variable will be surrounded by %signs. The echo command, usually used with batch files, can be used to display the environment variables. As you can see when we discuss the memory dumps, the %system root % points to the C:\Windows folder. Programs and scripts can use these variables so that the program and scripts can be more flexible. The path command can be used to display the folders in which you can execute an executable file by itself from any command prompt on the system. This means when you type a command at the command prompt, it will automatically look in these folders to execute the command. If you use the command to change the path environment, it will only affect your current active terminal session. To make the changes permanently, you'll need to change the values in the system properties environment variables, system variables. For example, if you type in file ext1 and press the enter key, after it checks to see if the file is an internal command and looks in its current directory, it will look for fileext1.com, fileext1.exe, and fileext1.bat in each of these folders. When it finds the first match, that's the executable file it will execute. If it goes through all folders listed in the path statement and it has not found a matching executable file, you'll get a file ext not recognized as an internal or external command. Internal commands are those commands that are built into Windows operating system, such as the dir, cd, md, copy, del, ren, and path commands. If you specify the path to fileext1.exe, such as C:\tools /fileext1.exe, the path statement is not used since you're specifying the path to the executable file. System variables are global and cannot be changed by any user. User environment variables have values that differ from user to user. You may use environment variables in scripts. While some programs may add environment variables for the program to run properly, on rare occasions, you may need to add environment variables as part of an installation process. The most likely use of configure environment variables is to permanently modify the path statement. Sometimes, when I install SSH tools or SSL PKI tools that are meant to be executed at the command prompt, I will add that folder that contains SSH or PKI tools to my path. Today, Windows 11 now includes SSH, and the path statement usually contains the folder of the OpenSSH folder. The System Protection tab is used to enable or disable system restores, which can be used to restore a system to a restore point if you have a problem. By default, System Restored is enabled for your C drive and turned off for other computers since the C drive typically has your Windows folders, program files, and boot files. Using the System Restore will be discussed in future videos. Most companies will have remote workers. Remote access ensures that users can work out of the office, including working from home, by accessing the corporate resources. Remote Assistant is used to connect to a remote computer that's connected to the network or internet where you send an invite to the user, which allows you to connect to their machine and see what they are seeing. Remote Assistant allows for remote collaboration. You should only enable and use Windows Remote Assistant if you're actively receiving help from a trusted person and turn it off immediately afterward. For most day-to-day support, the modern cloud-based Quick Assist tool is safer and easier to use than traditional remote assistants. Never grant access to strangers. Scammers often exploit remote access tools. Only share your screen with known family members, trusted friends, or verified IT support professionals. Scammers will often pretend to be IT support, contact you for a perceived problem, and trick you into giving access to their machine. If you need assistance from a trusted technical support person, it is recommended to use Quick Assist, which requires no open ports, gives only temporary access via a 6-digit security code that expires after 10 minutes. You must manually click Allow before anyone can view or control your screen, and you can stop the screen sharing session at any time by closing the app window or clicking Pause. More of the tools are described in the Introduction to Remote Access Technologies video. Remote Desktop allows you to connect to a computer that is connected to your network, including systems connected through a VPN. It allows you to connect it to your computer and troubleshoot just as if you were in front of the computer using the mouse and keyboard. Remote Desktop is for unintended access where you would not be directly collaborating with the remote user. You'd use the Remote Desktop Connection or mstse.exe to connect to the computer. Remember, Windows Home Editions will not have Remote Desktop available. In the Remote Desktop tab, you can enable or disable Remote Desktop. Network Level Authentication, or NLA, is recommended. NLA ensures that only authorized users can establish a remote desktop session before full network access is granted by ensuring that the user is authenticated before a remote session is established, so it defends against remote attacks and credential theft by verifying user identity before the server allocates resources to build the desktop screen. In addition, NLA significantly minimizes the resources a server uses per attempted connection and thereby mitigates the risk posed by denial of service or DOS attacks. Select Users button allows you to configure which users can connect to the computer. The local administrator account already can connect to the computer with a remote desktop. Users that are added here are added to the remote desktop users group so that they can remote connect to the computer without being an administrator. Remote Desktop can also be configured through Windows Settings, System, Remote Desktop. You can specify the port that Remote Desktop connections use, which defaults to TCP port 3389. Remote Desktop users allow you to specify who can connect to a remote desktop session in this computer without being an administrator. The System Multitasking options, Settings, System Multitasking, in Windows 11 controls how you organize multiple app windows, virtual desktop session settings, and switch between tasks. The multitasking controls 4 primary features: Snap windows. This controls the split screen layout features and to turn on or off the individual preferences. Hover menu shows or hides the pop-up grid layouts when you hover over a Windows Maximize button. Top screen dragging enables or disables the drop-down layout bar that appears where you drag a window to the top of your screen. Snap Assist is when you snap one window, choose whether the window shows thumbnails or other open apps to fill the remaining screen space. Taskbar and switching groups, which choose whether hovering over a taskbar icon displays your prearranged snap groups alongside individual apps. Show tabs from apps when snapping or pressing Alt-Tab. This controls how your web browser tabs interact with system switching tools. You can set the Alt-Tab menu and snapping features to either show only open windows, ignoring individual browser tabs, or to include your 3, 5, or 20 most recent tabs from compatible browsers like Microsoft Edge. Desktops, also known as virtual desktops, customize how a taskbar and shortcuts behave if you create multiple virtual workspaces. On the taskbar, Show All the Open Windows will choose how to show open windows from all desktops on your taskbar or only the desktop you're currently using. Show All Open Windows when I press Alt-Tab determines whether the Alt-Tab switcher displays apps from every single desktop or restricts the view to your active desktop. Title Bar Window Shake, commonly known as Arrow Shake, which allows you to left-click and hold a Windows top title bar and quickly shake your mouse back and forth to instantly minimize all other open windows behind it to clear desktop clutter. Shaking it again brings them all back. The Settings System Advanced page in Windows 11 is a modern menu designed for developers, IT pros, and power users. Instead of dealing with buried configurations or registry tweaks, this modern menu gives you direct toggle controls over how the operating system, file system, and terminal environments behave. Key features and toggles include End Task, which adds a force close shortcut directly to your taskbar so you can kill frozen apps instantly without needing to open the Task Manager, which allows you to right-click any open application icon on your bottom taskbar and click End Task to completely terminate its process. File Explorer, quick toggles to show file extensions, reveal hidden or system files, display full folder paths in the title bar, and show empty drives. Windows Developer Mode. Allow long path support. The Enable Long Paths option removes the standard 260-character limit for file paths, allowing compatibility Windows applications to open, edit, and save files nested deeply inside multiple subfolders, which allows the path to 32,767 characters long. Enable Sudo allows you to elevate command permissions inline inside a terminal without needing to launch a completely separate admin window by starting a command that you want to elevate with sudo, which is similar to Linux. Terminal sets your default terminal application like Windows Terminal versus classic console host. PowerShell configures internal execution policies regarding whether your machine will block or permit the running of unsigned script files. And Remote Desktop allows you to configure remote desktop settings. Virtual Workspaces settings focus on controlling advanced Windows virtualization and hypervisor-level environments rather than standard consumer virtual desktops. Windows Sandbox instantly enables or disables an isolated, temporary, pristine desktop environment. When closed, all software files and state history inside Windows Sandbox are permanently deleted, making it ideal for testing untrusted files. Virtual Machine Platform toggles a baseline operating system required to run virtual machines such as Windows Subsystem for Linux or WSL. Windows Hypervisor settings turns on Hyper-V-related components including the Hyper-V GUI management tools, Hyper-V modules for Windows PowerShell, Hyper-V Hypervisor, and Hyper-V services. This is necessary if you want third-party virtualization software like VirtualBox or Android emulators to run smoothly alongside native Windows virtualization tools. Virtual Desktop, officially called Multiple Desktops in Windows 11, allows you to create separate, organized workspaces on a single screen. Each desktop has its own clean slate of open apps. You can use them to separate tasks, such as separating personal browsing from work apps, which reduces clutter and helps you focus. You can easily manage your workflows with these features and shortcuts. Open Task View Click the Task View icon on the taskbar, which is the icon with the overlapping rectangles, or press Windows Tab. Create a new desktop. Click New Desktop in the Task View, or use the shortcut Windows Ctrl+D. Switch between desktops. Press Windows Control left arrow or Windows Control right arrow. And Move Apps, where you open Task View, then click and drag a Programs window down into another desktop thumbnail. Question: you have a new application that has a folder that you need to include in the path environment variable. What would you use to configure the path environment variable? Answer: Control Panel System Properties. Question: what is the proper way to delete a user profile? Answer: use Control Panel System Properties. For more information, visit these sites. In summary, System Properties is a control panel applet that allows you to configure operating system settings, including hardware settings, connectivity, user profiles, security settings, and the computer name. Virtual Memory Options allows you to configure the paging file used by Windows. Data Execution Prevention, or DEP, is a built-in security feature that helps you prevent the execution of malicious code in your system, which might be used by hackers and viruses. If you need to delete a profile to free disk space, you would open the User Profiles dialog box, click the profile you want to delete, and click Delete. The System Startup option allows you to configure the logging when a system failure occurs, such as the blue screen of death. Environment variables are named values that are kept in the Windows system while it is running, such as like a location of a folder on your computer, a version number, a list of objects, and so forth. Virtual desktops, officially called multiple desktops in Windows 11, let you create separate organized workspaces on a single screen. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will be part 12, User Access Control, or UAC. If you like this video, click the like button. And if you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Thank you.